everyone. Thank you very much for listening to our webinar today. Today, the topic is about social entrepreneurs and collective leadership. We have me, Weirong Li here, and also special Hasina here. Sorry, my hands online is a bit different. And we're talking about collective leadership and social entrepreneurship because it is a very relevant topic today. So during this whole entire time, I feel like we really gained value by connecting to people and collaborating through different disciplines. And that kind of connects to the topic of collective leadership, how we are able to build each other up and drive towards our purpose even stronger and better through combining different forces and disciplines. So, this topic, as of now, I think it's super relevant and important for us to discuss, and also for you guys to understand how we work together to go into our journey. And this is also connected directly to social entrepreneurship because we as social entrepreneurs know the challenges that we face and the daily things we have to do to go towards our social purpose and to create an impact beyond just for our local community, but for the society as a whole. So discussing this topic today is very important, and we can already begin. So before beginning, I would like to introduce myself. But first of all, Hasina, can you please introduce yourself? Let us know what you are doing, what social business you have, and so on.
Thank you, Mimi. First and foremost, I think it's been a wonderful journey that Raw Culture and Impulse Social Enterprises has two social entrepreneur in this journey of bringing collective leadership to engage, to reach out, and to get people around the world to know better of the culture that I come represent, the area that Impulse Social Enterprises work, the various tribes that we are trying to take this journey together. So let me just briefly tell everyone is that I live in Shillong, and I belong to a matrilineal tribe called the Khasi, which is another indigenous tribe in the world. And I basically started the nonprofit organization, which is Impulse NGO Network, when I was just out of high school at 17. And that journey of 25 years led to a hybrid Impulse Social Enterprises that work with local artisans who belong to various indigenous tribes of the northeast of India, which is bordering countries like Myanmar, Nepal, Bangladesh, China, Bhutan. And these are states which has more than 4,000 tribes. And the purpose of engaging indigenous tribe to preserve their culture, to preserve their weeds that has been passed from their grandmothers, to their daughters, is an important element of how economic development is important for women, but at the same time, how culture connects to economic development, the kind of work that Impulse Social Enterprise has been doing. The focus out here is to prevent unsafe migration. And that's the journey of the work that I've been involved for many, many years. And preventing unsafe migration helps to stop human trafficking. And by stopping human trafficking, we are empowering women to make better choices. And to make better choices, the best thing that we can offer is that to feel proud of the culture and the tribes that they come from. So that is where I come from, and hope to be having more discussion with you, Mimi.
Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. I think we got to see and hear a lot about your own personal journey, and also how at a very young age you got basically focused on your passion and are continuing this journey until now and further on in the future. So thank you for sharing that. I've already heard this, but it's always great to hear it again. And a little bit about me. My name is Wei Rong, but also if you guys feel comfortable, call me Mimi as well. It's much easier. I am a third culture kid. I was born and raised in Budapest, Hungary, in Europe. I'm originally from China, from Changsha and Qingdao. And for the 12 years of my life, I spent in an international school. And right now, I'm currently in Austria. and doing German there. So basically, I have a very international background. And from my experiences and personal interactions, I realized how important diversity and being international is. And so that's where my passion kind of led me to creating my work and social business, which is called Raw Culture. And the whole idea of Raw Culture is to provide a platform and space for people from all nationalities, all races, all ethnicities to come together and join in on a platform to share their personal and cultural stories. Because I personally feel like there isn't a platform specifically for that reason. And for me growing up, being a Asian person in Europe, I never found a place to kind of talk about my experiences. So in this way, I wanted to create a place just for that and also increase our cultural awareness and our understanding about how important origin is and doing this through storytelling. So that's a bit about me and what I am doing my social business. And basically, yes. Awesome. So after explaining what we are doing respectively, I want to dive into the topic of social entrepreneurship, right? Because the topic today is about social entrepreneurship and collective leadership. But first, let's tackle the idea of what does it actually mean, Hasina? What does it actually mean to be a social entrepreneur? What do you think that means? And how are you doing that?
Mimi, I would go back that when I started at 17, the word social entrepreneur was completely not there in my understanding, nor, I mean, in the conversation, that I was doing things because I was uncomfortable with the issue around me. And I was completely passionate to carry forward what I love to do is to ensure that people who does not have access to right are able to have access to human rights, because I felt human right is universal for everyone. And realizing that because a social entrepreneur will not rest until he or she find a solution to a social problem. So that is how I would define what social entrepreneurship is. The journey of social entrepreneurship for me evolved after the year 2006 when I got the Ashoka Fellowship, where they helped me to dive deep into my own journey. And my understanding since then is that a social entrepreneur is somebody who always look for a solution of any social problem that exists around him or her. And for me, it was at 17, I was very uncomfortable of the fact that why should it always be charitable when people have rights, and how rights can actually be accessed by everybody. So that is something which got me into this whole journey. And social entrepreneurship for me is that solution um, has to be an idea, an innovation, and a social entrepreneur drive that innovation. And for me, it's like I eat, drink, sleep solutions. So that is what a social entrepreneur is best described, So it's not a
Mhm.
project. It is not that you are trying to do a project, but you're trying to find a solution to a social problem. So that is the best way I would ever describe, because innovation for me continue to grow, continue
Mhm.
to journey, and continue to find solution to issues around the work that we do on human trafficking.
Right, right. I think you beautifully summed that up. I don't think I have much to add to that, but basically mentioning that I love how you said that you didn't even know what social entrepreneurship, like this phrase, didn't really come to your mind when you were a part of this, right? So for me now, when I think back, I personally didn't even know I was doing social entrepreneurship. I didn't know I was building a social business. I was just guided by what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do, and then it kind of turned out and rolled out to be social entrepreneurship. So
I totally agree with you. Mimi, it's like,
yeah.
I think the passion is something that drives you to do what you love to do. And there has to be, an issue out there that bring discomfort to you and you look for solution. And that's what drives social enterprise. And I think things just flow organically very often.
Yes, yes, for sure. I agree 100%. Love that. And I also want to like mention, because I feel like a lot of people mention how social entrepreneurs are different than just entrepreneurs themselves. The big idea is that when you create a entrepreneurship or a business, the idea is that if you create it just because you want to, for example, gain monetary value from it, which is in most cases for most businesses, that most likely, I believe it won't take you too far, because you can do anything that brings you money, right? But the whole idea is what drives and pushes you, as you, Hasina, mentioned. And I feel like that is a long-term goal that people continuously pursue and they continually drive to do, which gives them a long-term vision and something that is much more sustainable than just doing something out of, another reason, as I mentioned before. So in this aspect, I really like to mention how unique and special it is what social entrepreneurs are doing, that we are dedicating our effort and our resources and knowledge into creating a social impact in our world, right? Directly. So beautiful, nice. And moving on, after talking about social entrepreneurship, the other topic is collective leadership, right? So we are obviously doing collective leadership, which is really, really exciting. And then I just want to jump into asking, what do you think collective leadership actually is? What does it mean to you, Hasina?
To me, I think the journey of the innovation, the impulse model, which actually got me the Ashoka Fellowship, the realization that no single social entrepreneur can make changes in this world and bring solution to social issues by one person. So from the day one of the Way Impulse model, which stands on 12 pillars, which is the 6 Ps and 6 Rs, it ensured that we need to bring leaders together so that we can have a common vision. And that common vision is the connect of how collective leadership engagement took place. Because in the 6 Ps, for instance, there is system chain leaders, and then there are nonprofit leaders, there are individuals who are passionate and realize that they all are concerned about human trafficking, and engaging them under a common platform so that we can end slavery, and using the innovation that has been created, that has been tested, becomes very essential, you know. So that essentiality is something that had allowed, the process of collective leadership. And the other factor of collective leadership is that the ownership. When you have collective leadership, you have the engagement and the value that we are here together to make a change. So you are not actually engaging yourself without passion, but you're engaging yourself with passion, and you're engaging yourself because we want to be part of that global change. And that is how collective leadership engagement took place in my journey, especially in the evolvement of the impulse model.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Uh, I love how you touched base on how collective leadership is truly about working together, about joining forces, and then realizing you can do much more after you combine your resources and leveraging that. And that reminded me of a quote that really directly relates to this, which is something like, if you run alone, you are fast, but if you run together, you are running far, right? So I think that really depicts this collective leadership term very well, because the idea is that through combining these individual forces that may or may not be similar to what you are doing, you can create things that you did not think you were able to do. You're able to look further into the future than what you previously envisioned. So taking for example, I didn't know that my topic of culture, that we could ever connect on social impulse social enterprises and rock culture. I didn't know that human trafficking can be connected to culture. And I find it fascinating how we were able to, in the end, find such a good common point very quickly. And mentioning that, I remember the first touch point we had, which was interestingly enough in a webinar about social entrepreneurship. I was attending a webinar where you were speaking and you were explaining your journey about being an entrepreneur and starting at the age of 17 with your passion and doing and dedicating your goal every single day to this business. And and then after that, I was explaining how I felt your passion throughout your whole story and how much you shared with us. And then I basically explained what I was doing, and then right after that we somehow connected, and then there was magic. And it was, everything was super quick, but what I really gained out of this is the idea that literally if you are similar or if you're not similar, it doesn't matter. You can always find one common point to work together, and then provide a collective leadership from that point on, right? And it's even greater if you can combine something that is not even what you're doing, but reaching your voice out to that different sector. So for me, it's really incredible. And yeah, like that was how I saw our journey together as well.
Yeah, I think Mimi, I still remember. I mean, I just could never believe that today we'll be sitting and saying raw culture, impulse social enterprise is in, this journey of collective leadership together, because you were an audience when I was speaking, and there was a huge, massive young people that was on that platform that day. And I still remember the question that you asked me during that platform. I'll never forget those questions. And I think there was a common thread, your change making, entrepreneurship, personality was already there with you. And then you were listening to my journey and you connected. So in the process of the connect, and I think sometimes I believe very much in something very common that, when you are meant, you don't meet people, I mean, it just like that, right? You don't just connect just like that. There's always a reason when people connect. There's always a reason that there's a common passion. And I think I agree, when we connected very fast, we went and we both dive deep. So I think the diving deep is one part of collective leadership journey that engaged me in the last 25 years. Because, and I think that's what women does well, we don't franchise our idea, and social women social entrepreneurs do not franchise their innovation. They basically dive deep, so I think diving deep, uh, and that diving deep led to raw culture and impulse social enterprises find the common thread, because here we are trying to tell the world the beautiful indigenous stories, and how the weaves has a story of its own, and and how culture can actually be wearable. You can wear culture, right? And you are trying to talk about culture to the world. You're trying to tell culture. So I think that connected. And I think I'm just so glad that we could be in this journey together.
Right, very much so. Thank you very much. And I like how you mentioned about diving deep, because I feel like often as humans, we are we are always looking at the surface point and the surface, just what you see on the surface area, and we never really bother to go deep into the topic. And that is why we can't make such connections that we have, for example, today, because we aren't able to look at what is the potential behind joining forces. What are the individual skills that you have which I may not have, and which we can then, support each other on and create a bigger social impact with what we are doing. So I love how you mentioned that. And this got me to think of your impulse model, your impulse model, which also received many awards, such as the Japanese Most Innovative Development Project by the government of Japan. And one thing you focus on is how that model is actually towards collective leadership, right? So can you explain a little bit about that?
So the impulse model, I mean, beyond scaling very deep and beyond getting collective leaders across the 8 states of the Northeast of India, where we always present them as our state partners, and when it got the World Innovation Prize in 2012 from the Global Development Network under the Japanese Most Innovative Development Project, it actually helped us to scale out. although we were already scaling deep and out in the region that we worked, uh, in addressing unsafe migration and fight against slavery, and getting collective leaders to vision together and to journey together. And the prize allowed us to scale out beyond our own 8 states of the Northeast. And we went to Myanmar, Nepal, and Bangladesh. There again, rather than franchising the impulse model, rather than actually taking in as a project, we envision leaders from those countries coming together to apply the innovation and our learning and take the leadership to the next level. And that's how we have country partners in these regions. And then the journey of more leaders, we are not similar in terms of our personality. We are not similar in terms of what we are actually doing. But what is similar is that we believe that we have to work together to end human trafficking, and that is the common thread that allowed that engagement. And while we are scaling out, we are also scaling up because we realized that system change, engagement of policies, and engaging of the government to change policies is part and parcel of collective leadership. So the scaling deep, scaling out, scaling up continue to be as we went along. And I think that that prize allowed us to take this as piloting in these neighboring countries.
Right. Thank you very much for explaining that. For anybody who's more interested in looking more into Impulse Model, you can for sure check out their website. Hasina, you can refer their website.
Yeah, I think everybody can come to impulsengonetwork.org, which actually talks about Impulse as the model, how it operates, how it partners, and how collective leaders come together, and how the Impulse model prevention also is a hybrid by itself, and it is an extended innovation that allowed both raw culture and Impulse social enterprise coming together to tell further stories and work together at a global level.
Right. Thank you. Awesome. Do check it out. And basically, we are to the end of our webinar today. I thank everybody who is watching this right now, who is watching about our journey, about our collective leadership, and what it means to be social entrepreneurs. Thank you very much for taking your time. And I just want to leave with saying that I think during this time and period, and also during any other time, it's when we really realize how important coming together is and how much value we can get from talking to each other, from connecting to points we never thought of in our mind. So I think having this webinar today and having this topic is very, very crucial. And I hope that you guys took away points from this. And if you guys have any questions while watching this, please make sure to write it in the comments below. Both me and Hasina would be very glad to receive questions and we would gladly answer. And also, I would love if you can check out my website. You can check out my website at joinrawculture.com and also follow me and Hasina on our respective social media. It's the same name. And I wish you guys a good rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.